Hey, what is going on, everyone? Yeah, I feel like I took a little bit of a break. So much has happened the past few days, but wanted to pop in and talk about this upcoming full moon in Scorpio and what it means for us on a collective front. So this is for regardless of what your zodiac sign is, regardless of if you're a Scorpio or if you even have any placements in Scorpio in your chart. I want to say that this is collective. This hits us all. So, like, what are the basics, right? Like, Scorpio deals with a sense of mystery, right? And the moon illuminates our emotions, right? The sun illuminates the moon in order to see what is lunar, what is inside of us, what hides in the shadows emotionally. And so what we can lean into is a sense of mystery on like what I think this full moon is going to unlock for us. I think it's going to be really unpredictable. It's square Pluto in Aquarius. And with that South Node in Libra, it's definitely going to be revolving around relationships. Cutting ties with karmic relationships, cutting ties with toxic relationships. It's a purge. And I think in leaning into the mystery of it and kind of leaning into the intuitive, emotional sense in every moment of like what is coming up for all of us, that's where the unraveling is at. When you have full moon in Scorpio, it's kind of like the release is meant to be honest. It's meant to just kind of energetically unfold, like getting to the bottom of it. With the North Node in Aries, opposite of Libra and Chiron there, and all this Pisces energy, it's a surrender. We cannot push away, things that we need to clean up in our relationships. We have to really use our spidey sense, use our intuition to see what's showing up, what the mirroring is, what the reflection is. And this is all of it. This brings every relationship to the table. This is everything from random people to people that you interact with on a daily basis, to your family, to your romantic partnerships. Like, it's all of it. This full moon is hitting every type of relationship that you can think of, and it also naturally points back to yourself, having compassion for what it's illuminating in terms of any wounded ego stuff. And then ultimately it's meant to peel back gently, just kind of like peeling a banana, the layers to get to that, I would call it eternal flame, because Scorpio rules that, of yourself, of like your passion and your sustainability, to where it doesn't have to be a fight. It doesn't have to be, anywhere where you're struggling in partnerships. This is about you finding that flicker and flame and rising up higher so that you can be a better expression of self, a better Taurus-like expression of self, the throat chakra, your talents, your self-worth, your abilities, and calling in the right quality partnerships. So it can be one of both. I mean, yes, it can be purging relationships. And I would say if you've been paying attention, you already know which ones got to go. But then it's also can be rehabilitating relationships too, in terms of the self, the character development, compassion for yourself, for all parties involved, the willingness to be gentle with everyone and yourself included, and to lean into that mystery, to lean into that intuition, because ultimately it's meant to, I'd say a lot of this astrology is about opening up the crown chakra more, opening up to more downloads, more awarenesses. This is a full moon that's designed to activate, do you have it in you to stay out of your patterns and your attachments, your vices, the codependency in relationships, and even just an addiction to maybe how you see yourself, how we all see ourselves, and to go, I'm opening up to more. I'm opening up to seeing more of myself so that I can serve my relationships in a greater capacity and actually reach broader too, to reach to more relationships. You cannot fake it with this full moon. If you're someone who's wanting to manifest, if you're in any way unhappy in relationships, you're wanting to shift what you have, or you're wanting to call in new ones, this is a karmic checkpoint of the reality of like, how are you authentically showing up in your character, not just like at any point in time, like how you're actually interacting with your relationships, how you vibe in the world, but also like when no one's looking too, right? Like that's a lot of it too. It's like it's a radical character development to be like, okay, like maybe not forever, but like for right now, the lines between more of your hidden, you could call it moonlighting life of however that looks for you, right? It's like, say this jokingly, it's like whatever websites you get on or whatever that text message that you sent to that ex during this Mercury retrograde that you want people to see, it's even the thoughts that we have too, right? Like, because Scorpio deals so much with our hidden psychology, that's all going to come to the surface. It's natural, and you know what's funny too is it'll be so unexpected how it's gonna unfold, like the shock element of it. And it may not be a thing where it's like some big, highlight reel. I don't know why it reminds me of like Sports Center, like, it didn't make the highlight reel on Sports Center, but like people locally, your community, your closer partnerships, they'll be talking about it, they'll be whispering about it. It's these elements where, I would say this is especially for anyone that's like taken at least one step forward from treating spirituality as like some like fucking novelty, and is actually like understanding the embodiment piece of what it means to walk a spiritual path, and you've said yes to that. It's throwing the cards up in the air. Like there's no poker game to play anymore. Scorpio's like, like a poker face. It's the hidden. Like there's no poker face. It's like there's no more poker games to play with people, with fucked up situations, like that ultimately just, demean our own sense of our strength of character and actually make us weak. Because, there's triggers, we get upset, there's anger, and it's sort of just being like, you know what? New game. Play it this way this time. So that's what I'm speaking to, is the rehabilitation with your partnerships. This does bring up conscious communication styles. I think part of that is still using intuition of, things like, does this need to be said? Does this need to be said now? Does it need to be said this way? And even to anything really, like even the conversations with self as we're wrapping up this Mercury retrograde, the self-reflections, this brings up a lot with divine timing, like checking us, like where do we move too fast, and we're like almost like trying to get freedom like somewhere in the future, the present moment. This moon in Scorpio also square that Pluto and Aquarius. It's like it's going to check us, chickadee check yourself before you rickety wreck yourself, because we miss out on the magic, we miss out on the intuition, we miss out on slowing the F down long enough to see there's a bigger, broader picture that is available to us, that is innately inside of ourselves. And that deals very much with the fact that Jupiter and Uranus have met, but like their energies are still mingling, even though Jupiter's past Uranus, and Uranus being the ruler of Aquarius with that square. This brings up Jupiter too in our beliefs. And I would say especially the functionality of our beliefs. Are we actually embodying, what we believe? Or, this brings up like face value stuff. No one can get away with face value now. Like, oh, just like it's a rock, but like just paint it red and white and then like call it a symbol, for integrity or something. And it's like, well, it's a rock with spray paint. It's got chemicals in it. It's like putting makeup on like really fast. It's like we have to be okay with like the sustainability approach now of like actually where we'll wear ourselves out if we're not actually embodied in the belief, because it becomes too much overwhelm. Jupiter causes too much overwhelm. It's too much in the central nervous system, and we can't deal with it. It creates too much complexity, especially with Uranus and Jupiter being in the the gene key that actually deals with complexity versus simplicity. So it's like keep it simple still right now. Like don't let, a full moon square Pluto and Aquarius and just all the people situations confuse things, because ultimately those situations are playing out, but they're ultimately the mirrors to come back to the simplicity of self. Like, who am I? How am I showing up? What actions am I taking? What am I creating? And so if anything, if there's any alarm bells going on in relationships, it's really a chance to look at the embodied, belief and even more so experience of things. Like, are you actually having the experiential nature of co-creating with the universe, of manifesting, of allowing your self-worth to play out and not letting the wounded, victim mentality that can be Chiron in Aries, like play out, and then like flipping it onto the relationships and then being victimized by the relationships or some like outside thing or something in the world or these people or these groups of people, and come back more to, just the acceptance piece. So that's what's weird about this full moon, is like the way to get out of the complexity, especially anything dealing with the mind, actually is leaning into the mystery of the emotions, the intuition. And final thing is that it's actually retraining our minds, our central nervous system, to, just like in meditation, how we train ourselves to not grapple with our thoughts and to engage in thought and to just kind of be the witness, to come back to more of that co-creator experience by witnessing how we're showing up, being more present to the moment, being more self-aware, and instead of like getting distracted and like being way out here and like not in the present or with this future situation or anxiety and the adrenaline rush that this full moon will check us on. It's teaching us how to not get so lost or escapey into that and actually be more rooted in it. So think of it as like going to the gym, right? You're training the muscle for the first time or second time, right? You haven't quite gotten comfortable yet. You're new at it. But you don't get good until you just work the muscle, and being okay with sometimes your form isn't the best, but like you just put your patterns, your biases aside so you don't hurt yourself metaphorically. But it's like, be okay with like working out the kinks until you get good. It's like, it's okay to find the course correction by the doing. So cool. Let your mind wander to your relationships, project onto your relationships, fall out of integrity with the present moment, chase things, get going too fast, right? Hype your adrenaline up, drink the fucking coffee, like, see your things and your thoughts and your patterns, don't make them wrong, and then allow the mystery of the next moment and coming back home to your intuition guide you to strengthening this muscle so much of basically foresight intuitively to see how you're leading your life in every present moment. And so it's actually like showing us how we slip up, how we're not perfect. And the more we witness that, the more we're compassionate with that nature and also with others too, the less time we spend in that low density bullshit of making things wrong or fighting with ourselves or others or struggling. And we just come back naturally to the intuitive present moment. So I hope that makes sense. It's really just be okay with it not looking perfect right now, because it's actually training us on how to embrace the imperfection and in not trying to make it work. It just happens. We allow it. It becomes much more of a simple way of existing and expressing ourselves, that there's no algorithm with this full moon. Don't be trying to figure it out in your mind and your psychology. It'll drive you crazy. It's just too much. It's always in the present moment that the epiphany moment drops in, and then we see, oh, I got it, eureka. And then even if you see the big picture, it's still the simple thing of taking that next quality step, that next partnership, connection, communication, that next creative endeavor that actually, leads you to the big picture. And then also being okay if the big picture disappears for a moment, it's not constantly there giving you reassurance, that you're on the right track, like to eliminate some sort of self-doubt with some belief system, when really the truth is it is the uncertainty, and just being okay with that and going into those next intuitive moments that the bigger picture pops up, like the map on Mario Kart or something, to let you know where you're at on the track. So anyways, lots dealing with relationships. If you guys want to get a private astrology reading for yourself, or even couples astrology reading, business astrology readings, I'm going to drop a link down below in the bio. You can click that. That's for navigating more the current astrology, how it's landing for you. But if you're just more wanting to know like the basic natal chart characteristics, I'll drop that link below too. It's a little bit cheaper for some people that are still new to astrology and just want to learn more about what makes them tick. But the first one I'll post is more so people that are looking for guidance on how to navigate, especially these next few months and even next year or two. So, all right, love you all. Take care.